Okay, let's talk about dreams and nightmares as children have them or as we understand they have them. Children, especially youngins that can't express what they see very well in dreams, and sometimes they don't want to tell us, so it can be hard to know. We still don't really know what dreaming is or why we do it. We do know some things. There is significant forebrain activation which is regularly recurrent and spontaneous, probably how accessing dreams comes with different scenarios. The brainstem shows sensory motor activation in the reticular formation, ocular motor, and vestibular areas. Sensory motors means talking about both sensing nerves and motor nerves combining the senses as well as movement together. The reticular formation is somewhat active and it allows connections from signals to go from the brainstem to go to the cortex. Remember, further into the brain you get to the brainstem, that's where the primitive impulses are, your lizard brain. The further out towards the cortex, or the outer part of the brain, you get more involved in higher level thinking. Oculomotor, oculomotor refers to the system that manages eye movements. There have been studies that followed eye movements when people had dreams such as watching a tennis match, and the eye movements correlate with that activity. Some think dreams try to match the eye movements that the brainstem generates. So we're not sure which happens first, the vision or the eye movements. That's kind of weird. Vestibular refers to the vestibule located in the inner ear and the relating anatomy that connects to the brain. It includes the cerebral hemispheres, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. It is the main control center for sensory and associative information processing, visceral functions, and voluntary motor functions. It's thought that the forebrain makes dreams by comparing and connecting information from the brainstem with memories. It's also thought that reduced arousal response to stimuli is thought due to the preoccupation of cognitive thought. Your brain is so busy thinking that it's too busy to notice anything else to a point. There are many theories as to why we have dreams and what their function is, if there is any. They include psychodynamic, information processing and learning, unlearning, protein synthesis, developmental, and biological theories. The truth may be in any one of these theories or in a combination, or it could be none of them because who knows why we dream. We like to think we know why, but ultimately there is no scientific proof to support any singular or combination of theory. We do know, however, that you need REM to live. So let's explore these theories a little deeper. People have been thinking about dreams for centuries, and we still have no widely accepted theory as to their meaning or purpose. Sigmund Freud was popular for his dreams, or his thoughts on psychology, sexuality, and dreams. He was one of the first documented people who thought dreams were a reflection of the subconscious mind, like a window into one's deep-seated desires. This is referred to the psychodynamic theory. He believed that dreams were wishes from our childhood that were intertwined with things that happened during the day. The dreams may be brought upon by recent events or reminders of those wishes. Usually these wishes are unacceptable in consciousness, and if it's from Freud, it's usually sexual in nature. In fact, Freud thought that dreams were a compromise between the dreamer's unconscious wishes and the defenses against them, especially if they were inappropriate in real life. If you can pay attention long enough during a dream, they don't make any logical sense, and they aren't logical. There are signals coming from all sorts of levels from the brain function, from very small or little function to high functionality. When all those come together, it can make a very interesting picture. Of course, Freud also believed people who dream about their teeth falling out were projecting shame about masturbating, so you got to give Freud, take it with a grain of salt. Freud believed the manifest content, or what the person reports they dream, is only a very, very small portion of discovering the dream's latent content, which he thought was the key to discovering latent content, or people's underlying dreams. You can't really understand this with children and their dreams as far as if they were to describe them verbally. Rather, we can notice it in their play to see if there are signs of dream affectation. Another theory for the meaning of dreams deals with information processing and learning. It's thought that when you are exposed to new stimuli and you learn new things, your dreams are what incorporate the new learning with old knowledge. It's like a computer hard drive. Those worked by copying information onto a rotating disk with electricity, and it would just put whatever data was next in the next available space on the disk. However, that meant data that the user wanted to access quickly might be at the very end of the disk, and it might take longer to access. So there was a tool that you could use called the disk defragmentation tool, and that would separate data into organized ways to make accessing information quicker depending on how much you thought about it that day or did something over and over. Some studies have linked high data input or a lot of thought or new learning during the day. They say that can lead to higher percentage of REM in total sleep time. It would also make sense that if a person's sleep is disrupted too much, the memories could be lost. It's also thought that the processing of information during REM can lead to solutions manifesting in dreams. Paul McCartney from the Beatles famously had a dream about a song and wrote it down, and when he woke up later recorded "Hit" yesterday. Another theory about the purpose of dreams is the unlearning theory. The unlearning theory says that dreams are ways to unlearn useless connections in the brain that don't serve a purpose, are no longer needed, or are faulty or never fully formed. It says that dream analysis can be harmful because you are constantly recalling that which you are trying to get rid of. So if we're trying to forget things, why do we remember our dreams? Well, it's thought that you only remember your dreams that if you wake up while having them. In this light, if you don't remember your dreams because you slept through them, as a typical brain would, you would not recall these extraneous thoughts. Protein synthesis is the process through which amino acids are assembled into polypeptide chains called proteins. Proteins do everything, and they play a huge role in homeostasis, including micro and macro structure of cells. They are functional, they can repair, and can be a part of growth as well as an energy source. It's thought that these processes are related to memory, and protein buildups can strengthen synapses, and dreams would be the residual effect. The developmental theory states that REM is a function of stimulation needed for sensory motor development, like coordinating between the senses in the brain. Infants are too immature to process the stimulation from interactions with the environment, so they are thought to spend a lot of time sleeping because they can't move around to experience things. One study showed that animals who are blind early in life have more REM, supposedly because the animal is not receiving enough external stimulation to the visual portion of the brain, so they rely on the internal stimulation provided by REM. The biological dreaming theory suggests there is a biological meaning behind dreams. It is thought that dreams somehow reflect one's physical state. For example, a child who wets the bed regularly may dream about something to do with water in their dreams. Someone who drives a lot during the day may dream about driving. Their dreams reflect what they have been doing. Some people have premonitions about their deaths and dreams. Ronnie Van Zant was the lead singer for Lynyrd Skynyrd until he died in a plane crash. His parents, relatives, and friends and bandmates all were aware about his premonitions that he would die before he reached the age of 30, which was ultimately correct. Buddy Holly and his wife Maria Elena also had frightening dreams that involved flying and fire. Buddy Holly eventually died in a plane crash. Abraham Lincoln reportedly dreamt of mourners crying because the president had been assassinated. The original bassist for the band Weezer, Mikey Welsh, tweeted on Twitter that he had a dream that he died in Chicago from a heart attack, which is exactly what happened 2 weeks later. I'm a pretty skeptical person, and it's hard to confirm all these, especially since Mikey Welsh induced his own heart attack through drugs. But that's still an interesting theory. As we've spoken about before, infants start their sleep as a 50-50 half quiet, half active sleep. With this much REM sleep and an overall greater amount of total sleep time, it makes sense that they would dream more. For the first 2 years in a child's life, it's virtually impossible to determine what the content of their dreams are, but it's believed that they are for developmental purposes. Between 3 and 5 years old, the child is typically old enough and expressive enough to describe their dreams. Usually they say their dreams are brief in nature. Again, it is speculated that you only remember your dreams if you wake up while having one. So if the dream causes enough of an internal stimulus, it can cause an awakening. Most dreams are void of emotion, they don't have a story, and the environment doesn't change. About a third of the dreams are reported to be animal-centric, either just about animals or dreams where animals are representations of other people. Dreams are reported in 25% of awakenings in REM and 10% of awakenings in non-REM. Dreams can often be centered around self-needs of friends or family, those close to the child. Self-needs might include hunger or thirst. If they dream about their parents, the parents are usually representing good and other people are considered evil. Between the ages of 5 and 7, dreams are longer in duration and may contain more complex situations or scenarios. Usually the dreams are still pleasant. The dreamer is the central character. In fact, a lot of kids try to go back to sleep and try and finish their dreams. Dreams were reported in 50% of REM awakenings and 25% of non-REM awakenings in this age demographic. There are frightening scenarios as well, like adult male strangers, and it's reported that both sexes dream about male strangers. Being chased, threatened, unable to move, dreams about ghosts, or characters from TV and movies. Overall, longer and more complicated dreams, probably reflecting how their own life is progressing. By the ages of 8 to 11 years old, dreams are still mainly self-participatory, meaning they are the main character and involved with most of the action, and the content can greatly be affected by things seen in TV or movies. The settings and environment are less static, and the environment can change. Animal dreams are less frequent and have turned into dreams about school or sports or other social events. Dreams are reported around 66% when awakened from REM sleep, and 33% of those dreams are considered nightmares. Between the ages of 11 to 13-year-olds, their peers and are the main characters other than the dreamer, who seem to replace the family. It's more common to dream about daily activities, which reflects what is important to them, what they pay attention to. Kids this age also start saying their dreams appear strange. Nightmares have decreased from the last progression, but dreams are still reported in about 66% of instances where the child awakens during REM. Early teenage years, between 13 and 15 years old, show dream content when the characters are usually people of the same age and sex of the dreamer. Nightmares are reported less often, but that could be part of being a teenager, being embarrassed, or nightmares just don't occur as much as they used to. When they occur, nightmares appear to focus on control or lack of control of themselves, others, and their environment. They may manifest in stories or drawings if you notice the child's behavior. Nightmares may also represent a sort of identity search. Dreams are still strange, often confusing, and they are reported in approximately 60 to 80% of REM awakenings. Let's expound a little bit upon childhood nightmares. Remember, there are bad dreams, nightmares, and night terrors, but they are all different things. Bad dreams are just dreams where something uncomfortable or scary might happen, but the dreamer awakens and realizes it's a dream and it doesn't really bother him anymore. Night terrors or sleep terrors are an arousal disorder from slow-wave sleep where a child is in a state of inconsolability and is not really conscious. Nightmares are terrifying experiences that can cause fear for days and can even be remembered into adulthood. Some are so bad that they can cause insomnia. Some children may refuse to go to bed for several nights or try to stay awake all night. They may have more disrupted sleep because their subconscious knows they are afraid of sleeping. They also may refuse to sleep alone. Children are susceptible to such bouts because they do not understand that dreams are not reality, although I think most adults can't tell when they're asleep or dreaming either. I myself has fallen victim to secondary nightmare abuse because my wife dreamt that I was having extramarital relations, which obviously would never happen in real life. But it was so real to her, she held it against me that morning, the whole morning. It's not really an example of a nightmare, but it shows the power of dreams and how they can be interlaced in our emotions. Some children may reenact their nightmares with toys, maybe with violence. Nightmares are also likely to occur following difficult events, or if the child experiences trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder. Children might also find their nightmares too personal to talk about. Post-traumatic nightmares are like flashbacks when a person, in this case a child, re-experiences certain moments, feelings, or even this entire sensory event within their dreams. These can happen every night and they can feel like they're right back in the trauma again. This can cause anxiety in a multitude of ways. Depending on the content of the dreams, they could worry that the trauma will happen again. They may have anxiety about falling asleep and having the dreams again because they have to experience everything all over again. In some cases, the dreamer dreams that they will die. Sometimes the nightmare may enter a remission period, but they may return with reminders of the dreams. Sometimes the sleeping mind will intertwine current events to the trauma. Like if someone was kidnapped, they may eventually dream their newborn sister will be kidnapped as well. And we'll call those modified repetitions. Dreams might start to take on more symbolism and start to disguise the original trauma. As time goes on, if a child does not remember the normal trauma or the original trauma, the dreams may occur and be horrifying, but the person is no longer remembering what the symbols represent. There are some strategies to attempt if nightmares are becoming a real issue. The first is to limit the entertainment content the child consumes. I never really realized how many potential frightening or disturbing things there are in children's shows or movies until my wife and I had our baby, and I was trying to protect her from being too scared at things too early. Things to avoid, anything relating to the child's trauma or specific to the nightmares. If the child dreams about aliens, don't watch movie about aliens. TV's movies and readable content should be considered by the parents as to if they might cause more issues. Try to identify triggers in the child's daily life that are convenient to change. Look for correlations and recurring themes. For instance, sometimes it's not all loud things that scare a child, but it may remind them of a loud child barking, which could be the source of trauma. Sleep deprivation and more trauma can cause more nightmares to occur, so adequate sleep time is a must. The door may also be kept open, ensuring an escape or more open space, as well as allowing a pet to stay in the room if they don't already. Good pets can serve as confidence builders and trusted protectors even when there's nothing to protect against. And it's unrelated, but dogs are now used as service animals for schizophrenic patients who aren't sure if the people they're talking to are real. The patient will get their dog to do a trained thing to say hello and to whoever may be in the room, but if the dog doesn't go up to someone in the room that someone sees, it means they're probably hallucinating. Nightmares can be traumatic all by themselves. Reassurance is the key, and the way to show reassurance changes with age. With toddlers, a firm embrace and rocking may work. Older children will probably need vocal reassurance. Parents may stay in the room to be nearby. Then, after a few minutes, the child probably goes back to sleep after relaxing. Security objects or pets can be left in the bed. Night lights may illuminate the room just enough for the imagination to stop making things up. The brain's pretty incredible. We are susceptible to optical illusions, especially in the dark. Our brains want to see complete pictures, and it will start to interject images to try and complete the picture, so a nightlight can be helpful. Encourage imagination as a resolution. If there's a monster, have the child use their imagination to figure out a clever way to defeat the monster. The use of dream catchers can be a nice placebo. Drawing dream scenarios and changing the ending can provide a framework for how a dream may go instead of how it typically goes. I kind of think of it like the movie The Sixth Sense. Spoiler alert, but if you've had over 20 years to see it. So the people that the little boy sees aren't real, they're ghosts, and they don't want to hurt him, even though they're really scary. They want him to help them correct a wrong, and when he figures out how to help them, they're okay and they leave him alone. Discussion may need to happen regularly if the nightmares continue to happen, because a nightmare can bring a child right back to square one because the trauma is refreshed. Relaxation strategies like progressive muscle relaxation and visual imagery or hypnosis may assist. Kind of old-fashioned, but probably useful nonetheless, teaching a child to be brave. There are numerous stories about children conquering their troubles, especially with going to sleep and overcoming their fears of dreams. All right, that's it for dreams and nightmares for now. We really don't know anything about them, but we love to guess, don't we? All right, what do you think about dreams? That's always an interesting thing to ask people. It's a great way to strike up a conversation with your patients, too. All right, study hard. We'll see you in the next one.